welcome to episode 1 of the Connecting Clarkston podcast. We're so happy to be here. We have 2 amazing guests here today. Jim Brueck on my right, who's lived here for a very long time. Missy Lund over here, who's lived here also a very long time. Katie and I are really excited to get going and kind of dive into this podcast. You want to talk about like how this all came to be?
This is something I've been thinking about for a while. I had mentioned it to my husband a couple months ago, and I was like, hey, I think we should do this. He has just a lot of knowledge of Clarkston and history, where I tend to be more interested in kind of the newer things that are happening in Clarkston, and I wanted it to be a mix of both. And so then at one point, our girls were playing soccer at Oakland Yard, and Ann and I were sitting there talking, and she was talking about how she's kind of looking for her next path.
Yes.
And I was like, by any chance, do you want to start a podcast? And strangely enough, she was like, oh, that's very interesting. And 2 months later, here we are.
So this is the genesis of it. So nothing fancy, but really like the title kind of says it all, Connecting Clarkston, connecting the history with what's going on currently, and just kind of trying to decide what it is that makes Clarkston different, special, and what keeps people here, brings people back, etc. So let's start. Dad, when did you and Mom move here? Because I know it was before my time. And why did you choose Clarkston?
Well, it was 1971, and that was the first house in Clarkston on the East Lawn. And we had an apartment in Keego Harbor on Cass Lake, and between Cass Lake and Sylvan Lake. So it was really kind of a sweet location, but we had 2 kids and one on the way, and we needed a bigger house. And so we started looking around, and as you can imagine, we kind of did a radius around Keego area, and hit on places like Troy and Rochester and Hortonville, and there was something about Clarkston that just seemed right. And when especially now, when I look back, I go, wow, that was a lucky good decision.
Yeah.
Because some of the other towns, nothing wrong with them, but you think of Rochester, and it's a great place, but it's like gridlock most of the time.
Right.
You can't move left or right, and Troy is just kind of spread out over hundreds of square miles, it seems like, and no real personality to itself. So the beauty with Clarkston is that it has remained all that charm for those 50 years, I guess that is, or something like that.
Yeah.
And even though it has grown, but it hasn't been hurt by the growth.
Well, that's what I think is interesting too. Like, in Missy, how long have you lived here?
All my life.
All your life.
Yeah.
So
50 years.
Oh, 50 years. Do you have
Showing
a
my age.
birthday coming up?
Just did.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And I do kind of wonder, and I've lived here most of my life, but on and off. I left after college and left and moved to other places, other countries, but then came back. There's something about Clarkston that pulls people back, and for me it was family and raising my kids here and that kind of thing. But I also wonder, and Katie, you've lived here a long time too, what is it that's changed? I mean, you've said it has stayed the same, but it has to have changed a little bit. Any thoughts about what's from when you were growing up, Missy, what has changed about Clarkston?
Oh my goodness, the roadways. I mean, I remember when Sashabaw was 2 lanes.
Yep.
And so Dixie Highway was a couple fields, empty fields everywhere, it seemed like, that have now changed into big, huge subdivisions or big stores. So yeah, it's lots of change.
When I was trying to prepare for this, I went and bought this book. Have you guys read this? And so it's so interesting too to think back to Rudy's and Hallman's and what the Clarkston bookshop, right?
Ritter's.
Ritter, yeah. Just so many, huge evolution as far as stores. So.
But do you think the feeling and the charm has been able to be preserved, with all of these developments? Do you guys feel like that's kind of stayed the same, or has that changed at all?
Well, I mean, other than some businesses coming and going, but the downtown is what it has been all all along. It's not really any bigger or any smaller. I mean, minor changes, you might say.
Yeah.
Now we're kind of renowned for the restaurant row,
Right.
which either love it or hate it, but from where I live, I can walk downtown and I kind of like it.
Exactly. And do you, like Missy, you went to school through all the Clarkston schools, right?
I did.
And your kids did too.
Yeah.
So do you feel like your kids' experience through the schools was similar to yours?
I do. And I taught in Clarkston for 25 years. So
That's right.
it was interesting to be able to teach at the building that I once attended when I was a cougar at Sashbaugh Junior High. I know. Isn't that
So
funny?
great.
But yeah, no, I think educationally Clarkston's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like since you're into real estate now your second career, I don't know if it's your second, but your most recent career.
Yeah.
Is it your second? Did you go right from college to teaching?
I did.
You did? Wow.
I
Look at
did.
you.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So now that you're a real estate agent, now you're probably trying to get people to move into Clarkston. So are there selling points? Like, what is it that you use to attract people to buy homes here?
Well, like Mr. Brueck said, the Clarkston charm still is here. And it has that small community feeling as well. It's been interesting because when I retired this past fall at my party, I found all of my yearbooks.
Wow.
And so I've been reaching out to my first year students where they are now first time home buyers, in their late 20s, early 30s, getting
Yep.
married, having families themselves. And then I've been reaching out to families who are now ready to downsize because all of their kids are out. So
Right.
it's been neat to reconnect with several of the students that I found through social media.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I feel like, are you surprised that so many of your kids moved back? Or didn't leave in some cases?
Well, see, you're right. Some never left. And,
Not naming names, but we might. We might.
But it's for all different reasons. I think one time we had 5 of the kids out in Colorado,
Yeah.
oh
wow.
and now we have 2.
Yeah.
So all but a couple and one in California have come back home, and I think they love it. I mean, they're raising their kids here, and even when they're talking about future things like retirement, they think about Clarkston. A little maybe premature a little bit for some of them, but still, the idea that they like where they are.
I do think some of it is just the connection of Clarkston, that it's still small enough that you have a good feel for who your neighbors are, the people in the community. And I think definitely having your family here is another reason to come back to the area for
Definitely.
sure. I know I have lots of friends that after high school moved away. And I think even, as somebody who's never left Clarkston, but I feel like it's so difficult to raise children and not have that community. And so I think that's probably another reason people maybe come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a village.
Yeah.
It does, absolutely. Do you expect your kids to move back?
It'll be interesting to see what Quinn and Luke, what they do. I think Quinn's going to be more of a warm state person.
Okay.
And with Luke in forestry, I think he might
Oh.
head out west. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know he was in forestry. Oh, that's
Yeah, up
cool.
at Michigan Tech.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That might be the place for him up there.
Yeah, he might even stay up there.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So when we think about how Clarkston's, how it kind of began, the charm, and how it's kind of been consistent, but is there any, what's your hope for the future? You looking at your grandkids maybe moving back. What do you think Clarkston will be, or what do you hope for the future of Clarkston?
Good question. Well, fundamentally, the basic structure is there, and I don't think that needs changing. What I hope, and there's a lot of good signs that they're becoming more environmentally interested and concerned, and I think because there's a lot of let's say naysayers, and typically it's that minority gets the most exposure, that other people are maybe intimidated by it or don't quite know how to express themselves. But what I have found through my own experience, and particularly with the city, the village of Clarkston, we get very supportive mayor and council about taking on some of the environmental issues. Invasive species that don't belong, like the phragmites you see all over town. And there are other things like buckthorn and water quality. So I think those things are being better understood, and through a lot of different team efforts, I think we're making progress. And so to me, it'd be a positive environment to live in, and people feeling that way about the environment, how they can, what they can do, to make a change. That's often the big challenge. It's a big environment. What can I do? Will the impact mean anything? And so I think we're going to try to help communicate that yes, one step at a time, you can have an impact.
And what do you want to talk about? Your business that is environmentally focused, and then some of the current groups that you're working with?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. I like to say we're the antithesis of seawalls, and we do create the natural habitat from aquatic to all the way to upland plantings that allows the interaction, of the fauna, the frogs and turtles can move back and forth from aquatics to upland. That's what a natural shoreline does, as well as provide protection. So that's been a lot of fun for me. It's been interesting, and it's kind of a after retirement job. It's been kind of cool to do it and learn and have an impact. One person.
So in preparing for today, Ann had mentioned that you put the rain garden in Depot and then also Clarkston Family Farm. And so last weekend I went to Depot because I'm like, I must see the rain garden to know what I'm talking about. And they have like a nice sign out there about, I'm trying to think of what it said, like watershed.
Nature preserve.
Native shoreline.
Oh,
Native shoreline, yeah.
Nice.
And so can you talk a little bit about that sign and what is happening there?
Yeah. So the sign you're talking about is a reflection of the plantings that were done on the. We used the west bank of the mill race. So we're on the east side, and the sign's on the east side, and the west bank is on the west. And the project was to expose citizens that would come down there and maybe question, what does that sign mean, or what are they looking at? Hopefully the two tie together. That that looks really nice. I like the appearance. What is it? And the sign indicates and talks about the plants that are there, and some of the whys of natives versus non-natives and invasives.
Interesting. So we will link information to your business and to what's happening in Depot on our website and then on our social media pages too.
It's going to explode. Just be
Yes.
prepared.
Yep.
Get some extra talent.
Let me know if you
people
need
on
any
the
extra help.
phones.
gonna be great.
The other group I wanted to have you talk about was the lovely named Biophilic team.
So what happened is the Planning Commission essentially formed a line item that said, hey, we want to address those environmental concerns. And so what stepped in was a group of citizens, including myself, and we ended up calling ourselves Biophilic Club. And biophilic is basically the inherent love of nature.
Well, Missy
appreciation
taught
of nature.
science.
I
You would,
did.
you're speaking her language.
There you
She's a
go.
science
There you
teacher.
go. And so now we've been working for a couple of years trying to promote different things, and the thing I'm really kind of excited about is we came up with the idea of addressing the issue of stormwater and stormwater runoff. And so stormwater runoff goes into storm drains, either on your lawn or in the street. And where does that water go? It goes as fast as it can directly into a body of water. It could be a river, a creek, a lake. but it's not filtered whatsoever. It's just whatever washes off the street, the lawn, the parking lot, gets washed into your river, lake, etc. So we come up with the idea of creating bioswales around some of these storm drains, and we did a demonstration site on Middle Lake Road, and so far we just did it last year, but it looks good. It draws some attention. People ask about it, but we want to go further than that. And how do we? Because there are some. I think we did an estimate of almost 40 plus storm drains in lawns just within the city. I'm not even talking about the township. That's just the city of the village of Clarkston. And so, how do we? What's the next step? And what we had put together was a proposal to create additional demo gardens and use those to educate, explain, put some signage on it, et cetera, so other people can say, oh, gee, well, I can do that. I've got a storm drain and I'm interested. And then we would then provide support information, how to, where to, et cetera. So, so now the question is, how do we kick off this this project of creating 4 or 5 or 6 demo sites? And we were looking, for a group that would be interested in learning, and could really benefit, not only from what they learn, but from doing, and it'd be a community project. So what we ended up is making a connection with the Clarkston High School Environmental Club. And myself and a couple of the members came and made a little presentation to the Environmental Club about the idea, would you be like to be involved in helping to create these additional bioswales in Clarkston. And it was like 100% unanimous interest, and enthusiasm about doing that. And so just in the last month, we've been working with them, and they're active in the process now of creating some potential designs for different applications, and there's a lot of steps got to go through to get there. But the beauty is we got these kids now that they're already interested in the environment. By nature, they belong to the club, and they see this as a good opportunity to learn and give to the community. And so hopefully by the end of the summer, we're going to have maybe half a dozen new demo sites that we can then use to promote the whole concept and educate and raise the interest in other property owners and say, hey, me too, I'd like to be a part of that.
I feel like I've heard you talk about this, but I didn't
Probably have, yeah.
totally grasp what the picture was, but that's amazing.
Will other people, let's say I'm a homeowner and I have a storm drain in my lawn, how do I find out more?
Well, hopefully once we have the demo gardens installed, then we're going to go through a PR program.
Got it.
Promote it through the papers, maybe a big do a show on that.
Yeah.
That'd be a good topic.
We'll go out into the town.
Connecting Clarkston, about town.
Yeah.
We'll be looking for an opportunity to promote it.
Yeah.
Because that's the key, is to what is it, and how do I get involved, and why should I get involved, and should I care, and all those kind of things that try to change attitudes.
I don't know if
really
it's
cool.
too late, but Earth Day is coming up.
Oh,
April
yeah.
21st.
Yep.
It's April 21st?
It is,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
Earth Day.
Earth Day, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So we're sitting here. That's my dad's retirement gig. All this
Your
fantastic
dad's
stuff.
retirement gig.
Environmentally.
Does speak my language.
And your retirement gig is a little different, but I feel like we've hit on some things that kind of correlate to, you're selling real estate, but people are buying into the town, and there's so much community involvement and awareness. And so how is this going? How's your gig going?
Real estate's good. Like I said, it's been super fun reconnecting with former students and families that I once taught way back in the day.
Yeah.
But it's crazy the amount of new development that is happening, and that has happened
Right,
over all of these years too, which is great for the school systems.
definitely.
Yep.
What were you saying when you looked at how many houses are for sale in Clarkston right now?
So I'm not sure how factual
Accurate,
my Google
yeah.
search was, but I think about 114 for sale currently in the township. Does that sound about right?
Could be.
At any given time. I know it's
Yeah.
usually slower at this time of the year,
Yeah,
but
it is. Yep.
We were looking at different facts about lakes, and I didn't know this, but in Independence Township, there are 28 lakes. Now, some of those are shared with other townships. But I feel like that must be a huge draw for people coming and trying to buy a house here. I mean, are there things that people say to you when they're coming to look at houses about Clarkston?
Of course, the school system is super important.
Yeah.
And it's nice that I'm a school teacher and can speak,
Right.
about that.
Yeah.
But also all the parks that we have here, all of the involvement with Clarkston Family Farm, the library, all of these activities that parents can get involved with their kids. So it's nice to see a lot of younger
Yeah.
families moving in.
So what were you saying about young people?
Well, one of the challenges is I think, in my mind, is getting young people involved so they can implement some of these positive changes. Ones that are concerned about the environment. So I believe there's a lot of people, young people in particular, that do care about the environment. And but how to reach them and how to activate them and
Engage
involve
them,
them
yeah.
Right.
is a challenge, and that's why I was really excited if we can get the high school involved, because they impact not only themselves and their friends and even parents, but how do you reach out to those people that are raising families, they're busy as can be, and
Right.
concerned but don't seem to have the time or ability to participate, and I don't know how to it's like,
Get there.
how do you reach that?
Yeah.
How do
Well,
you-
I think when Missy was just saying Earth Day too, I feel like there's a good potential coming up with that. And I mean, I feel like in the past, Earth Day has always been celebrated by like planting a tree somewhere.
Right.
But maybe
Cleaning
this,
up the community, picking up garbage.
but maybe it's a
Right.
good time to talk about what you're doing.
And people are ready for a little
yes,
more advanced
I think so.
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, for sure.
and invite them to join the media, the team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they have an input.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Give some directions.
I mean, TikTok might be it too, Dad. You have to get
Oh.
on TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm not going to jail.
You have to start doing some dances. I don't know.
Some dances around his plants, through the gardens.
That's right.
My
Dance to
plants
the
do
garden.
not come from China.
Yeah, exactly. The rain garden dance.
Funny.
That's the next episode.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Well, so as we wrap up our time here, we've got some ideas of who else we'd like to bring on and talk to and just kind of pick their brains. But do you guys have any recommendations or anybody that you think we should invite on to our future episodes? of Connecting
I would
Clarkston?
love to see Chelsea O'Brien from the Clarkston Family Farm.
Excellent.
She has such a passion about outdoor education, and so I think she'd be great.
Excellent. Yeah.
And I think the mayor of Clarkston, Eric Haven, would love to be here and talk about some of the initiatives that he's involved in, and very supportive. He has been for a lot of the activities I've been associated with, Friends of Depot Park, the Biophilic, et cetera. So yeah, I think he'd be a good candidate.
Good suggestions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Write them down.
Yeah.
Got them up here.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, thank you for having us today.
Thank you
Thanks
so much
for
for coming.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Best of luck
Interesting.
with this.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Hope
right.
hope it's successful in reaching
Oh,
out to
it
people.
already is.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
already is.
It's
Have you
already
seen our
success.
mugs?
Yep, if nothing else.
Love
we
your
have
mugs.
If you have a mug, you've made it. So,
Yes.
and you all go home, and you get a mug, and you get a mug.
John gets a mug.
John gets a mug.
Yeah.
Yes.
Time.
All right. Well, thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
This podcast is brought to you by Independence Television, located inside Clarkston High School. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Independence Television, Independence Township, or Clarkston Community Schools.